communities where ex-felons resort to, where they live, where they inhabit with their families. It's a more of a don't ask, don't tell. No one really wants to talk about incarcerated members of their family. Incarceration is considered abnormal, associated with shame and stigma, and denies families the capacity to heal because you can't talk about it. So if you don't have someone that you can talk about how you're feeling or express what this is doing to your family, and if you're so busy trying to pretend that it's not happening, you never get the opportunity to heal. When I read this, it was funny because my dad was incarcerated for much of my youth, and I don't know that I ever felt shame. I mean, it didn't feel normal, it didn't feel right, but I knew of other families who were experiencing the same thing, so for me it wasn't such a horrible thing. But I know one of the things that we say today, Dad, is like they're away at college, funny enough, right? Ironically, we say if someone's away in jail, it's like, oh, when they came home from college. So just in joking and having a conversation, so we've managed to figure out a way to take that stigma away. And even though it's happening and it's real, we just kind of almost embrace the individual, like, hey, it happens, and it's happening so often that eerie silence is probably not as prevalent as it was in past years, but it does exist for some families depending on where you're from or where you inhabit. So passing, which is lying to hide the status of an incarcerated family member to avoid the stigma of incarceration, and it's likening to the old Jim Crow where they like it. Michelle Alexander likens it to passing as white. So if you were close enough to looking like someone, like a white person, and you were a black person, clearly you would try to pass. You don't really want to associate yourself with blacks. In this case, you don't want to associate yourself with family members who have been incarcerated, so you don't talk about it. It's almost like as if they don't exist. So that's the way you pass, and this is what passing relates to. Gangsta love. So this we're experiencing today. We have gangsta rap. We have movies that are made out of people who have been incarcerated, that glorify people who have been incarcerated and the crimes that they've committed. And this is just a way of embracing the stigmatism to survive in your neighborhood. Like it's not a thing. It's almost like a passage. Like you know, this. Oh, how many years did you do? I mean, you go back and forth, and you want to associate yourself with this because if you're gonna look at me as a criminal, and if you're gonna see me as a criminal as everything that I do just because I'm black or because I've may have made a wrong decision or something that happened in my past when I was a child, then I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to find a way to make a living out of this. I'm going to find a way to make you see it as something that's not so bad. And that's embracing the stigma to survive. One believes if they're going to be treated as a criminal and stigmatized, they might as well embrace it. Many rap artists today capitalize off of their real life experiences. Many of them. Some are just capitalizing off of someone else's. Right, but this is gangsta rap. The Minstrel Show. This is a funny one for me as well, because we have all of these modern day reality TV shows, and they're likened to minstrel shows. You have racial images and stereotypes associated with the era of mass incarceration that are also similar and likened to in the Jim Crow days. And it's deep. This is a really deep topic in this comparison because in the minstrel shows you had white people in blackface. You had black people in blackface to exaggerate their appearances, and they were pretty much putting on a show for their white slave masters or for white plantation owners. And I understand how Michelle Alexander likened this to reality TV shows because it's such an exaggerated image that you see on TV. Not all black people behave that way. You have the appearances, the weaves, the makeup, all this extra stuff that just makes, this is the platform. And this is how everyone who views these shows are going to look at, maybe not so much, but they're going to look at black people as a whole. So the same thing happened with minstrel shows. It was racial oppression as a commodity. They used racial oppression in a way to make money. And minstrel shows, pretty much, you probably pay more, closer attention now, but when I went back and started researching minstrel shows based on this chapter, I noticed that this is kind of like, there are a lot of similarities between the TV shows, the reality TV shows, and the minstrel shows of the past. So, the antidote.
Yeah,
This is
so,
it for us, right?
yeah, this is the end of chapter 4, and, all this happens to these people, and it seems like there's no hope, but, there's the antidote, and there is some hope, and she does offer some suggestions at the conclusion of chapter 4. And she suggest that, in order to kind of deal with some of this, we need to really embrace the humanity and individuals that come from these situations, and then we need to celebrate those who manage to turn their lives around and survive. And it's quoted here in the text, perhaps the most heroic are those who, upon release, launch social justice organizations that challenge the discrimination ex-offenders face and provide desperately needed support for those newly released from prison. And so, to commend you.
What you're doing.
Yes.
Well done.
So that's kind of the direction in which we move in. It's also quoted in the text that she says, like, you got to hate the crime, but you have to love the
Yes.
criminal. And I think, we have to separate the individual as a human compared to the act or the behavior that which occurred that may not necessarily be their responsibility, but a larger network of discriminatory practices.
In a nutshell.
Thank you.
All right.
Yay.
Just for the record, I want to make it clear that what motivates me is not what motivates me is anger. To have another group of raggedy ass human beings do what they did to me and what they doing to millions, 2.5 million human beings in cages, and another 6 million on probation and parole, on leashes. It is inhumane, and for anybody like myself, all it does is drive me. In terms of anger is what drives me. I look better than them. I'm better educated than them. You know what I mean? I'm more intelligent than they are. And to have them have this kind of control over my life, and subject me to this, how do you tell one human being, where does he get the authority to tell another human being what he can and can't put in his body? Huh? You look at commercials on TV and they're advertising, big pharma is advertising drugs, and they got one possible beneficial effect and 15 side effects that will kill you. This is sheer hypocrisy, right? And then they lock people up and put them in cages, man, for decades. And kill them. Police kill them, because they have a small amount of marijuana out of the millions of plants on this planet. How do you pick out 1, 2, 3 and say that they are illegal? That human beings can't have these, And then the penalty for this is to put you in a cage. A human being that has the ability to put a rocket ship on the moon, huh? Has the ability to put a rocket ship on the moon, and you put him in a cage and totally deprive him of any kind of normal sensory activity. How do you do that? And then they want you to look down at the person that you put in this cage and look at them as, some kind of pariah. Get out of here. Huh? Get out of here.
wrong.
You gotta be angry, man. Because the people that are doing this, man, they just another group of raggedy ass human beings. They're born, they live, they get old, and they die, just like everybody else. All right, that's enough of my anger.
That's okay. You're allowed. You are allowed to have that anger. That is justifiable. Mr. Robinson? Wrong time. We said 8 o'clock, so we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Oh, shit.